Alrighty, what is going on, ladies and gents? Welcome back to the channel for another market update. Hope everybody's having a lovely day. And with that being said, let's get into the TA. So I'm going to point out right now that QQQ has now fallen about $7 from the high, $8 from the high. So we have gotten something different that we have not had this whole entire run. And I'm just going to point out here, QQQ has had a straight up $25 run here without any pullback. SPY has had what are we looking at? We're looking at just about a $20 run without any pullback over here. So a $19 run. Obviously, SPY is not down too bad as compared to QQQ. But SPY is why I think we are going to be getting more downside. So let's go over what has changed on the chart. So this whole entire run, you have not broken down underneath structure. You have just kept building on these higher lows and higher highs. Well, guess what? The last higher low was over here. You bounced above it, and then boom, you opened underneath it today, and you got rejected. You went a little higher than that, but ultimately you fell. You came back, and you are now getting rejected from that same exact spot. So if you are not short this market and you would like to hedge your long positions, or you would like to take advantage of a little downside, I'm going to go over real quick of what you can potentially be playing here. All right, entry would be right here on this back test. And where would you be looking out for? You would be looking for a move underneath this low here at 452.75, which is actually 452.81. I got the wrong level there. You would be looking for a move all the way down here to 450. What you could potentially do here is something like, let's come over here. All right, you got your entry right there. Let's drag that down there. All right, you could have your stop, we'll say above the high of day right here. And then you could have right there. And your risk to reward ratio is pretty darn high over there. So you would like to hedge your positions. That is something that you could potentially be taking advantage of. But I'm also going to point out over here in SPY, guys, if you think this is going to be your pullback for the buying opportunity, I'm just going to point out how limited the upside is here. All right, so above here, you have up to the supply zone at $3. And yeah, you could come all the way up to 462 over there. All right, so we'll say that's your max upside over there. And then what is your downside from this level? Your downside from this level is all the way back at 444. So your risk to reward is pretty screwed. It's screwed here. It's skewed, it's screwed, whatever you want to call it. All right, it's not looking too good here. So I would not be taking a long position up here. You don't want to take a new long position before you actually get any sizable pullback. Let me just bring on a Fibonacci retracement here, and I'm going to point out you have not even reached your 0.236 Fibonacci level right there. All right, so if you do come back here at 450, I'm going to point out you have confluence with this 0.382 Fibonacci retracement right there. But ultimately, I do think you are going to come all the way back down here to 444. I have been telling you guys for the past few days, hey, all right, upside is limited up to the supply zone, which, we came pretty close to that. Sellers hopped on a little bit early there. But even if we were to come back up, go up and make a new high, I'm going to show you guys something else. All right, what this day effectively did is it put in a higher low on the chart. So if you do end up if you run back up above this high of, what is that, 456.43, 456.43. If you run back up above 456.43, that's a tongue twister, then that does validate this is your higher low. And then guess what you could be looking out for? You could do something like that. And then if you come down here and break underneath that low, that is when you again have some structure on a higher time frame changing. All right, you're breaking that structure. So all I'm saying here is you do have a break of structure on the shorter time frame. If you do go back up, it's not really something that you want to be taking advantage of because, again, upside is pretty limited here. You have not gotten a pullback, and I'm going to point out your RSI is still above 70. So there's that. And then over here on QQQ, you clear as day see that this thing does want to finally start its pullback. Yesterday, the thumbnail was, I believe it's finally time or something like that. The time is here, whatever I said in the thumbnail. That is because of what I was seeing in the morning yesterday. And it looks like, yeah, we were seeing the early warning signs of sellers stepping in. And now we have confirmation that, yes, they started to make their move. So I'm going to show you guys over here on QQQ what I'm watching out for. All right, we're just going to put on a Fibonacci retracement right here. I'm going to point out, all right, right here at this 379 level that does align with the 0.382 extension, but I am going to point out that, again, that is not the biggest pullback, and it's not strong support. That is what I want to get at right there. And then if you do end up losing right over here at 375.50, which that aligns with the 50% Fibonacci retracement right there, the 0.5. If you do end up losing that, let's just look at where your golden pocket is. The 0.786 Fibonacci retracement aligns perfectly with your gap fill. Absolutely perfect. And then you also have confluence over here with the 0.618 with our breakout level of 373. So I ultimately do think price is going to end up getting down here. I would be personally paying attention to SPY for short positions as compared to QQ, just because, you see how far QQ has fallen already, whereas SPY still has a very large ways to go here to get down to its previous breakout level. And again, let's just put on that retracement right here. All right, and let's point out, even if you do end up coming down to 451, you have barely retraced this move. You have had a rather large move here on SPY and QQ to the upside without any pullback whatsoever. We finally have confirmation that it's starting on the lower time frames. If you do see a break under 450, be watching for 444 all the way down here and potentially that gap fill at 442.97. Is this going to happen overnight? No. I do think you have FOMC next week. I believe that is on the table. And, we could end up falling into that day and then bouncing coming out of it. Or unless there's just other data. We did end up having the CPI and PPI pump here. And that is what ultimately, I believe at least, CPI broke you out, PPI gave you the continuation up to this level, and then you flipped that level, and, technicals did the way, or they paved the way over after that. But we now don't have any catalysts, big ones, up until next week. So that is what I'm going to be paying attention to. We come over here to Netflix. I'm going to point out Netflix is down on the day about, 10% there. So, congrats if you had shorts, but I'm also going to say right now, all right, you would have had to, hold through quite a bit of the day here just to be green on those, because Ivy Crush was a real thing over here. Now, I am going to come over here to Tesla. I'm going to point out something that I'm seeing that I think is going to be a pretty darn stankin' glorious opportunity, all right? It doesn't have to go down like this. It does not. You do have this rising wedge here if you put on extended hours, which that is what I'm paying attention to over here on Tesla. That is why I have that over there drawn like that. I'm going to point out the 4-hour RSI is getting all the way down here into the same exact spot that you had a $45 bounce from. I'm not saying you're about to have a $45 bounce, but I'm saying you're getting within $5 of this gap fill down here. This gap fill is something that I was waiting on over here for an entry, and it never came, but it's now here. So I'm just pointing out, hey, all right, not bad potential over here on Tesla. If there was something that I think is going to have the most bounce potential here before everything else, or stronger as the market does decide to rebound, I think it's going to be Tesla. And I think it's probably going to be done somewhere around this gap fill. So, Tesla contracts with some date are not a bad idea, in my personal opinion. Just something I thought I would put on the board for you guys. Now, let's just look at all of these other guys over here. Let's look at the big guys. All right, you got Apple over here. Apple has a inside bar going on right now, which is not a bullish thing. And if this does continue down underneath 192.67, I will be watching the gap fill down at 191.18. And that is something that could align with QQ getting back down to 373. QQ has fallen quite a bit without Apple. What happens when it falls with Apple? All right, step over to Google. All right, what could you be watching? You could be, holy Jesus, Google has absolutely died over here. Look at that bad boy go. You're broken down from the channel. I saw a lot of calls coming in for Google. Someone got creamed on calls. Holy Jesus. They were buying them somewhere around over here. I think 127 calls for next week. I was seeing a lot coming in this morning. But holy sweet baby Jesus, you could be coming all the way back down to backtest this falling wedge here that you broke out of. So be on the lookout for that one, and that would align with 118. Yeah, we'll call it 118 to 119. Let me just go a little like that. Let me keep that on my radar. All right, guys. I was talking about this is when we're going to be getting the buying opportunities. Amazon. That is something we can also bring up right now. Amazon. So I was seeing a lot of bullish flow. Obviously, you know, people got creamed over here on Amazon who were taking the positions up here. I think they're entering at low of the day over there. But I am going to point out, you are coming in to the gap fill over on Amazon. So this is something I also see decent bounce potential on over here. You are finally filling the gap. And I want to point out, you did not get to fill the gap over here. So if you do that, I would not be surprised to see a decent sized bounce come out of Amazon. But as long as everything is falling, I'm just going to point out these big boys can continue their trek down. So that is something that I would just be cautious of. You might not want to go risk on, and you know, you might want to wait to go shopping until you see the opportunity over here on SPY and QQ. And by that time, you could also just go shopping on the indices. So that will be a thing. I would just control your downside. And like I was saying at the beginning of the video, if you want to put on a hedge, all right. I mean, you know, now it's like a little late for a hedge, but if you do see this low of day break, then you do have confirmation that you're likely coming down here to this 450 level. So that is also something to keep in mind. But not a bad idea to hedge long positions or just wait on the sidelines in terms of long positions until you have these levels being hit over on SPY and QQ that we were paying attention to down there. Meta. All right, Meta is also something that is looking pretty ugly. So everything is just looking very, that's what I'm pointing out. Everything's looking very ugly across the board here. If you do end up breaking down through 305 and you get a daily close on that level, then hey, all right, you have room all the way down here to 300. What else do you have? You have room down here to the breakout level, all the way down here at 290. That is something to keep on watch. There you go. Microsoft. Microsoft over here is also looking dang freaking ugly over here. Your next support is all the way down at 342. Who would have thought the massive pump that came out of nowhere just is going to be sold off? There we go. All right. You know, these are just things I want to point out. I'm actually going to close out the video with MU, right? MU is something that I am noticing is not like absolutely tanking with the market today. All right. So that could be a positive sign for anybody who is interested in MU. All right, because if it's not falling too much with the market and the market does start catching a bounce, this thing could catch more of a bounce than the others. So that is something that I will be watching and watching for a reentry over there on that one. All right, guys. So with that being said, I will catch y'all in the next one. Peace.